Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guests today are two ladies, a mother and daughter, who are co-owners of Art Attack. Art Attack is an art studio specializing in art classes, parties, summer camps, and art supplies. The studio is located at 1810 Magnolia Avenue behind the Burlingame Plaza in North Burlingame. Art Attack offers year-round weekly classes in oil painting for children, teens, and adults. Art Attack also offers themed summer camps featuring fine art crafting, watercolors, oil pastels, and clay, as well as field trips where students paint on location. And now my conversation with the founder of Art Attack, Nancy Torres, and her daughter, Audrey McInnis. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Wow.
It's great to be here.
Mother and daughter, I love it. Okay. Nancy, because you're the founder of Art Attack, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll go back over to you, Audrey, for some questions. Probably the same questions I'm going to ask your mom. But Nance, you kind of grew up in Millbrae. Even though you live in Burlingame now, you sort of grew up in Millbrae, right?
That's true. I did.
Yeah, you went to, let's see, I got my notes here. You went to Spring Valley Elementary Grammar School, Taylor Middle School,
Yes.
and Mills High School.
Correct.
Graduating 1972?
Yes.
And then from there to UCSB.
Correct. Down in Santa Barbara.
Right. Yeah. University of California, Santa Barbara. Right. UCSB. Okay. Can you share with us, if you don't mind, some memories of maybe Mills High School and Millbrae and things like that? Because most of the times my show is strictly Burlingame, and this is an opportunity to venture a little bit into Millbrae.
Sure. When my parents bought the home there, the Mills Estate was just being built, and so we were the first owners of the home right across from Mills High School. Mills High School wasn't even built yet when we moved in.
I don't think I realized
Really?
that.
Wow.
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, so that was interesting, and it was very fun because there was a lot of very excited people to have a new neighborhood. Everything's brand new. All the little trees are tiny, and the schools are just being built. And it was a great place to grow up. We had a fair amount of freedom compared to nowadays.
Yeah.
Definitely got to ride our bikes around and explore the neighborhoods. The same old rules of you had to come in when the lights, street lights came on. It was time to go home.
Were you one of the first classes to go to Mills?
No, my sister, though, was my older sister.
Yeah.
Her class was one of the first ones to go, I think, through 4 years. Yes,
Okay.
Diane Flanagan now.
And how was let's just move to your senior year. Where did you guys hang out in Millbrae?
Oh, gosh. I guess at our homes, mostly our homes and our friends' houses. If we did go down into the plaza, which is still there, and actually where my shop is now.
Right.
When I was in junior high, I used to go down. There was a shop that had clay that you could, it was a little clay shop where you could finish pottery, and it was already, there's a place like that in Burlingame right now, all fired up. Then
Yes.
there was a woman who had
On
a
Lorton.
shop like that, yes, down in the plaza. And as a little 8th grader, I would go down, and she hired me to clean up the pieces of clay and get them ready for firing for other people who didn't want to do that. And I think I made 25 cents an hour that she
The big
gave
bucks.
me. Yeah, she credited me so I could buy supplies, so I could have my own, buy the colors and
Right.
the different things to.
Was that sort of your first exposure to art in general?
Well, it was my first exposure, I think, to an actually paying job other than selling seashells
Yeah.
on the beach for
Yeah.
a nickel a piece.
Yeah.
That was another good gig.
Did you guys ever go downtown Millbrae or come to Burlingame Avenue or Broadway Burlingame?
Yeah, sure, Burlingame. That would have been the big trip
Yeah.
to Burlingame.
Right.
Right. But yeah, going to King's Bowl, you had.
Right.
That was definitely a place. Owl Drug.
Where was that?
That was, let me think, it was probably about where, it was in the plaza.
Oh, it was in the plaza.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe it was CVS,
Yeah.
like nowadays,
Right.
but that was Owl Drugs
Yeah.
back in the day.
Did you ever go to the movie theater that used to be off Broadway?
Yes, the Millbrae Theater, 50 cents to go see a show.
That was on El Camino, wasn't it? No.
I thought it was on
yes.
California.
No, that's on El Camino, the one in Millbrae. It's still there with the Millbrae Theater sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's still
Which one
there.
were you thinking about, Audrey?
I thought there used to be a movie theater in on Broadway, Burlingame.
There was. It was on California
California
Drive. It was called the
Oh.
Encore.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah.
No, I think that was X-rated.
Oh,
Well, you know,
I've never been there. I don't know.
it started out as normal movies, but then when business got slow, the way to spike it is to do something
We'll
else.
cut this portion.
Right.
Don't
Yeah,
include this.
That's right. Any notable, seniors that you went to school with that you remember, or athletes
For
or
sure.
teachers?
Yeah, one of my best friends, Jeannie Perkins, her dad was Dale Perkins, who was well known in Burlingame.
Yeah, how do I know that name?
Because he was the art teacher for all the school districts, the elementary schools, and he did a lot of, there's in the library, main library, there's a stitchery of the Burlingame library behind it that's from a watercolor that he did. He was a famous watercolorist in our area, and I think the Historical Society might even possibly sell cards of his occasionally that
I'll have to
were
look into that.
his watercolors.
Yeah.
But so he was my best friend's father, and as an art teacher, he always had great supplies around. He was so supportive of both Jeannie and I in high school at Mills. And our teacher, Bob Smith, was our art teacher there, was fabulous. And Jeannie's talent was much more graphic, and she could do like any kind of lettering and cartooning and graphic design. It was like she was so impressive. And I was
Yeah.
more like a rendering, portrait type person. So we both had different styles and skills.
And so you kind of had that gift as a child then, I guess, huh?
My parents really encouraged it and developed it.
That was a question I was going to ask you. Did your parents mind that you were a art major at UCSB?
They encouraged it, loved
Wonderful.
it. I actually wanted to be a business major, and they were like, "Why don't you want to do art?"
Really?
It was like the reverse.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. But anyway, they were right. I tried. They didn't have business at Santa Barbara. They had economics,
Yeah.
and I couldn't even make it through
Yeah,
one semester.
I get it.
I was like immediately, no, where's the art class?
Where's the art class?
Yeah.
Okay. Any athletes that you remember from Mills High School? I know I'm going back quite a few years now.
Sure, yeah. They were like our friend group had a lot of guys from the football team. It was Steve Donati, Jeff Cricks, Greg Young. All these guys were great little athletes in their days.
Yeah. Folks love hearing the names on these podcasts, so that's why I like remembering things like that. Right. Audrey, I'm going to ask you some of the same stuff, but
goodness.
but you didn't grow up in Millbrae. You grew up in Burlingame
That's correct.
and went to Our Lady of Angels.
Yes, sir.
Right? Was Father Michael there then?
Of course.
Yeah.
And he knew every single person's name. It's astounding.
He's amazing.
It doesn't matter how long you're gone. You come back and he knows immediately who you
He's
are.
amazing. Yeah.
He's incredible.
And then after OLA, Our Lady of Angels, you went to St. Ignatius.
Yes.
What year did you graduate from SI?
2007.
So you're, I don't want to talk ages, but you must be somewhere around 35, 36, or 37.
35. I just had my birthday 8 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a son that went to Burlingame High. My youngest one, he graduated 2006. And he's 36. So good math, right? All right, why don't you share some memories of St. Ignatius, your senior year, mostly, and
Sure.
places that you would hang out down here on the peninsula or in the city, I guess.
I mean, SI was wonderful. I'm always grateful that I had the opportunity to go there. In my senior year, I had an especially wonderful time because I loaded my schedule with almost exclusively English and art classes, which was a pleasure. It was
I bet.
wonderful. And I honestly feel like that was the best year of my life. But it was a lot of fun. Those are still my main passions, I think, would be analyzing literature and creating art.
Yeah.
So it really was.
Do you have a favorite
quite
teacher?
wonderful. My favorite teacher at SI was Mrs. Denning. She was my English teacher freshman year, and then I had her again for several English classes my senior year. And she was just so wonderful and positive and welcoming and funny. And her classroom was a place that we wanted to be. So even when we weren't in class, we would find ourselves gathering there and spending our extra time there with her and talking about our lives. And she was just a really wonderful mentor.
Yeah. When after school, did you, take the bus home, or did you?
Yes.
Driving by then, you would take the bus home, right?
Well, I suppose senior year, I
were
rode home with a
probably-
friend who
yeah.
also lived in Burlingame.
Did you ever hang in the city after school, or would you just come back to Burlingame?
Sure, we'd hang out in the city. I mean, Jean's on Terraville was a liquor store that had a great deli, and that was the spot to go and get your sandwich.
Yeah.
But we would go to friends' houses mostly. or what's the mall up there? Westfield Mall?
Saramonte?
Saramonte, yeah.
And what about when you came home?
No.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
What about when you came home to Burlingame? Would you go to the Avenue or Broadway Burlingame or kind of Ray Park-ish?
Probably more likely Burlingame Avenue than Broadway. And then, going to the movies and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely Ray Park, because that was just a few blocks from our home. So that was always fun to go to Adeline Market and get sandwiches and ice cream and then go hang out at the park. And, it was just a wonderful
Did you have any friends at Mercy or at Sarah? Anything like that?
I really kept to my class. I wasn't great at socializing outside of my school. I remember even that being true in elementary school. We would have people in our class who had friends at other elementary schools. And I remember thinking, even as a fourth grader, how are you meeting these people? I really only know the 36 people in our class. But I think it's because they were doing a lot of sports. And so that I was not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you both for the memories, right? And I'm sure there's lots more, but we're going to move on to Art Attack.
Okay.
And Nancy, I want you to help me a little bit about this as we move through the Art Attack journey. I want to make sure I have everything right. Okay. You know what? I'm going back to Audrey just for a moment. Audrey, what'd you do after SI? What happened after SI?
I went to CSM for a little while, and then I transferred to UC Berkeley, where I graduated with an English degree.
Go Bears.
Indeed.
Okay, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, a couple of UC campus girls here. I love it. Right.
True.
Wonderful. All right, Nance, back to you. As a studio art major, is that what it was? At UCSB? What was sort of your vision upon graduation? Did you want to open a studio? I mean, what were you thinking about?
I guess I hadn't thought that part through very well, and so I did have the disappointing realization when you graduate with a studio art major that there isn't an obvious path for you, and it was very hard to find a job at first, and that was very disappointing. I was very excited about working, and it was just hard to find something right away.
Did you stay in Southern California or in the Santa Barbara area after you graduated?
I moved to Los Angeles, and I was down in Pasadena area. And I did end up going to take some more classes at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena to take some advertising classes down there, some drawing classes as well.
And how many years did you stay in Southern California?
When I was married, I was first down there at the beginning, and we moved back up here after our second child was born.
Yeah. So wait a minute. You graduated from college, and you got married, what, a year or two later?
A couple of years later. I graduated in 76, and I was married in 78.
Okay.
So, yes, 2 years later.
Right. Okay, great. So you stayed down there. You and your husband stayed down there for X amount of years.
Yes.
Then you came back to Burlingame in 1986?
We came to Millbrae.
Oh,
Millbrae in
okay.
83. And we were in Millbrae for a couple of years, living in my grandparents' old house. And then we bought our home on Drake Avenue in Burlingame, where I still am, yes.
What were you doing then? Were you working then or
I was mostly a mom working part-time jobs. So I would always find a job somewhere and work a couple days a week.
Right.
So I worked as a photographer's assistant at one point, just
A florist.
a florist for part-time.
Okay.
I worked for Sunset Books for a while. So I've always had a couple of, 2-day-a-week job type of thing, a little pin money, basically.
Okay, then along comes 1995.
Yes.
And you start a children's summer art camp?
Yes.
Right, out of your garage.
Yes, just had my fourth child the year before, and it was just... It's weird because I literally remember holding my son in my arms, like in the middle of the night, walking around my living room and feeling like it's here. It's here. There's something in my future right here. It's I was trying to figure out how to make my next move for pin money.
Yep.
And I felt like it was right here, and I could feel it so strongly. And literally right below me was the garage, and that's where Art Attack started.
That is crazy. So how did you let the kids in the neighborhood know that you were going to start up a little class and stuff?
That was due to a good friend across the street, Nancy Hoke. She came up with the idea. She's like, why don't you do a summer camp for kids, a summer art camp? And I was like, wow.
Because she knew you were an artist. You liked to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just clicked with me. It just seemed like, oh my gosh, that is something I could do. It seemed totally possible. And she said that her youngest, or her third daughter, was it her youngest or fourth, I guess, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Amy was the youngest, was in a Girl Scout troop, and she said and Nancy was a school secretary at Lincoln, and she said as soon as summer camp opens up for the elementary schools, it fills the first day. And there's a lot of parents who are left without a spot. Mm-hmm. And she said, make up a flyer. I'll pass it out to Amy's Girl Scout troop. And, you can get 10 kids or whatever you need. And we'll do it for 3 weeks. Do it the same weeks as the summer school.
Yeah.
And you'll have a little, summer camp. And that's what it started.
So in your head, you had to kind of put a little plan together, I guess,
Yes.
of what you were going to do daily with the kids.
Sure.
How long of a day was it with the children?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was 9 to 3, right?
That sounds
off
right.
the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 to 3. I think it was a 6-hour day.
And a great relief for some of the parents, too, right?
Sure. Uh-huh.
And you had to come up with a price. To,
Yes.
it's your neighbors and
Figure
stuff.
out-
And
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So figured all that out.
And
then
in my notes here, it says you started out with 12 young girls, right?
I believe so.
And the
yeah.
ages were what, more or less, youngest to oldest?
7 to like 10 or
Okay.
11.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that's great.
Yeah, and it was a lot of neighborhood kids,
Yeah.
a lot of kids from Burlingame. One of my nieces, Catherine, was in it. Nancy's daughter, Amy, was in it.
Yeah.
A little girl down the street, Katie, was in it. So there was, a lot of local people. My neighbor down the street, Michelle Porter, babysat my son so I could, do the class.
Terrific.
Yeah, and my oldest daughter, Allie, she helped with babysitting so that I could be teaching downstairs.
Did you ever see yourself as an art teacher?
It almost seemed like too good to be true. I don't really think as growing up, an art teacher for me was beyond what I could do.
Right.
Yeah, so I hadn't imagined that for myself.
Okay, so over the years, your business grew and grew, and you had about 40 kids now.
Yes.
40 kids a week, and you covered about 9 to 10 weeks, I think. So probably it moved from the garage into the backyard or front yard or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, right off the bat, I was in the garage teaching painting, and then my second daughter, Angie, who was 11, she taught dance for me. So she would sleep in while I was teaching the painting, and then she would come downstairs and teach dance to the group.
So she was 10 or 11, she was
She was
teaching
11,
dance?
11, yes.
11, and she's teaching dance?
Which she did every day with them anyway, pretty much.
That's wild. That's great.
That was her major activity. If she wasn't
Yeah.
dancing, she was teaching it
Yeah.
to the neighborhood kids or her brothers and sisters. And she's still a dance instructor today, which is fabulous.
Yeah, and your notes that you sent me, you called her your business partner.
She was. That's why I called her at that time.
Isn't that
That's
great?
My business partner, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So then while she was teaching dance, I'd go in the backyard and set up for crafts in
Yeah.
the backyard. So we did crafts and gardening.
Yeah, I'm reading oil painting, arts and
Yeah.
crafts,
Yeah.
gardening.
Yes.
Was that just because you wanted to keep things rolling? And
Yeah, another activity for the kids.
Yeah.
I could teach them how to deadhead roses,
Yeah.
how to properly plant a plant.
Did you have boys in your class at that time?
That year we did not, not because we didn't want them, but just they are not the ones who signed up. But
Right.
the next year they did.
Okay. Eventually you switched from dance to drama.
Right, to make it more, not everyone wanted to dance or felt comfortable with
Yeah.
that, but it felt like more people were comfortable with drama.
Right. And was Angie teaching the drama or were you doing it?
No, Angie taught that.
Oh my gosh.
Because as it grew, you couldn't, when it had 40 children, there were not 40 children in that garage. They wouldn't have fit. So we had the 4 different sections or 3 different sections of crafting, painting, and theater, and they would rotate. So we just put them into smaller groups. So at that point, I don't think Angela would have gotten to sleep in anymore. She would have been down there the whole time.
No, she would have.
We live on a hill, so we have a finished basement that's on the same level as the garage and the yard. So those were our 3 arenas, if you will.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting it all together like
Yeah,
that.
and we would hire neighborhood kids to help out with. They'd be assistants in the arts and crafts or assistants in the art,
Yeah.
painting.
And on Friday, there'd be our huge show.
Yeah,
We still
all
have an art show
parents-
now, but
yeah.
it's
And
just
the parents-
crafting and
And
painting.
the parents would come to that or what?
Yes, they would all come. We'd set up all the seating in our backyard, and the theater, there'd be 3 productions because they would have produced,
each
a
group
music video or a short play, and they were all original. And
Every week, different
they'd be
things.
told to come wearing certain things for their costume, and they had to memorize their lines.
Yeah.
It was very over the top. It was really fun.
It was so fun.
It was great.
Okay, so I looked at your website and you're no longer offering drama classes,
No.
right?
No, because
So How long did that last, the whole drama thing?
While we were at Drake.
home. Yeah,
Yes.
as soon as we moved outside, we had to change
So 10
things
years.
because we had a much
10
smaller
years.
space.
We were, yeah, my mom had this going on at her house for 10 years. And at that point, she finally moved to an outside location. And once
Yeah.
that move happened, it limited us to painting and crafting because of the
Yes.
space.
Let me see. So Angie continued to work with you through high school in San Francisco State, and she graduated with a degree in theater.
She did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she still teaches at West Coast Dance and runs her classes out of Red Morton Rec Center
Yes, in
Redwood City.
Yeah, Miss Angie.
Yes.
That's
Miss
pretty
Angie.
cool. Okay, so your business continued to grow, right? And
Yes.
now it's just too big to hang in the neighborhood. So you go find this location at 1810 Magnolia Drive in the Burlingame Plaza, behind the Burlingame Plaza. And you've been there for 19 years.
Yes. We were at a little
More or
spot.
less.
Yeah. We were 2 doors down at a different location. In
For
fact,
about 12 years, I
yeah.
think. We were at 1812 C.
John Britton was our first landlord there, and he and his wife Linda, their kids took our classes as well as Linda did, and
Yeah.
he was a wonderful landlord and was kind enough to help me out with my first spot, and then we kind of outgrew that and were able to move into where we are now.
Growing business, amazing. Okay, so now comes the year 2015, and I have enter Audrey.
Yes.
Is that about right?
About right. I think it was 2014, but close enough.
Okay. So, Audrey, what had you been doing prior to joining the business?
Well, I had graduated from college in 2011 in that winter. So my first job was at the Breakthrough Institute, which is a nonprofit in the East Bay. And I had been working there as an event coordinator, actually. And then I decided that I wanted to be a part of Art Attack and came to join the team in 2014.
You were an event coordinator.
Yes, I worked and then I actually also worked as a wedding coordinator for many years.
Really? Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. It really felt like something that utilized a lot of my skills in a way that I hadn't found previously. Because I never really felt like I had a focused talent at one obvious area. And so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then when I discovered wedding planning, I actually felt like, oh my God, it's pulling all these things that I didn't even necessarily think of as a skill, but now I see that they are, now that they're all lined up together in this industry. So that was really
Were
quite
you
nice.
working for a company of wedding planners, or were you on your own at that time?
I did both.
Yeah.
I did work with Allison Silber from Engaged and Inspired, and we did most of our work in Carmel Valley, actually, at Holman Ranch.
Wow.
Which is a really beautiful venue down there.
How come you moved away from that then?
She sold her business, and she did offer it to me, and I strongly considered it, but it just felt like something I wasn't ready to commit to, especially since most of the business was, again, as centered in Carmel Valley, and I was still living up here in Burlingame,
Yeah.
and it just felt
That would have
Too
entailed a
difficult.
move, I guess, right?
right. Yes. So even though I enjoyed it so much, it would have been
Yeah.
too uprooting.
Okay.
And so we let that go. And then honestly, I'm glad that I didn't buy the business, because then COVID hit, and I really would have
Oh, yeah.
been a nightmare.
Whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. We should touch on that in a minute, how you survived
Survived.
COVID.
Oh my gosh.
It was close.
it's
It was
just-
touch
It
and
was
go.
really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second, because I want to get a little bit more from Audrey right now. Since joining Art Attack, what's been your role?
So my official title is studio manager, and then I'm also an instructor and also the leader of crafting for summer camp. So it's a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of logistical stuff as far as the studio manager goes. So, registration and making the flyers and building the website and a lot of correspondence with students.
Are you working the website? Is that your work?
I'm not a web developer. We had someone who built the website from scratch.
It's a very good website.
I love our website.
Yeah.
On the Bay Design. But I do go up and, manually add the products. So the
Right.
classes and the camps and things like that.
Yeah. Great stuff. I looked at the website, you have several teachers that work at Art
We
Attack.
do.
How many do you have?
I think right now it's 5.
Yeah. How do you attract teachers to work for you? Do you have turnover, or do they hang for a while, or what?
We have a lot of extremely long-term teachers who've been with us for 10 years or more at this point, which is such a fortunate thing for us. And Nancy has done a really good job of having a lot of homegrown educators with us.
The very first person who ever helped me was Susie Ferris, who now has her own place in San Francisco. She was with me, I think, 10 or so more years at Art Attack, and she was the nanny of a couple of the kids who she'd brought to class, and she was like, I love it here. Do you ever need help? And I was like, sure. Right away, brought her in, and she stayed with me 10, 15 years and eventually opened up her own place in the city. It's called Creative IQ in San Francisco.
That is great. Do most of the teachers have another job? In other words, this is like a supplemental thing, right? Or
correct.
Because they have a passion for teaching art.
That's exactly right.
And it's a great way to make a few bucks doing what you love to do, right?
That is on the nose.
Yes.
There are people who want to be there. It's definitely not there. We don't have the hours to supply you with something full time. So the people who are working there are just really passionate and engaged.
They love coming to work.
They love to teach. They love the students, the environment. So it really creates such a lovely atmosphere, honestly.
So on a given evening, how many adult students would be in a class? And are there teenagers in the classes as well? And do you have teenagers and adults in the same class in the evening?
Right now in the summer, we have a teen-adult combo class.
Would you have that in the winter?
Typically, we do not as much. We usually have kid classes, teen classes that start at 7th grade, and then adult classes. We do cap our classes at 10 students. So there are times when if somebody, our adult class is on Tuesday evenings, but I'd rather come to the teen class on Thursday nights. It's better for my schedule. Absolutely, come join us. But we wouldn't have a teen join an adult-only class.
Got it.
Yeah, we just have, I think, the day classes are adult only, and then we have one night class a week that's adult only, so that the adults can have a kind of calmer atmosphere. But we do have one or two nighttime classes now that are teen-adult combos.
Yeah.
And that's a nice opportunity, too.
Oh, I bet. So I'm picturing a large room with maybe 10 easels set up. Is that what we're seeing? Is that what I'm seeing? And everybody's kind of working on their projects?
Sure, yeah. They're tabletop easels, not standing easels.
Okay.
So there's that. Although we do also have standing easels
for larger projects
because it can get overwhelming on the
So
table.
I've often wondered this: are there different teachers for different kinds of art? In other words, let's say I just want to do portraits or landscapes. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I want to do landscapes, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a teacher that's specific to that, or can they teach anything? In other words, but I'm not interested in doing a flower that's in a vase or a portrait. I just want to do landscapes.
I think one of the wonderful things about our classes specifically is that they are so open-ended. So we don't make everyone paint the same thing because it's exactly what you just said. If you're not interested in what it is you're painting, you're not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. So apart from your very first painting, which is typically of an apple, where we can just introduce the medium, and we want something simple shapes, simple colors, so you can figure out how it works. After that, you get to decide what you want to do, and everyone works at their own project, at their own pace, and the teacher circulates and gives one-on-one guidance. So you really get to just do what you're interested in.
But the teacher that's there for that evening can sort of go between all of those things, right?
Yes, we have really talented teachers. Yeah. They're capable of everything. Of course, they're going to have specialties or things that they focus on for their personal art journey, but they have the ability to help you with whatever it is you're focusing on.
That's pretty cool. All right, so can someone with no art background, me, take a class, or are you looking for folks that have some sort of sense of sketching or drawing or painting? In other words, I don't even know if I could do a paint by the numbers type of thing, right? But do you take on people like that, or would you prefer not to?
Oh, no, we want everyone. We are very welcoming to beginners. I would say almost 100% of the students that we get have no oil painting experience before coming to us because it's not something that's typically brought to the schools in this area. You're more likely to be working with acrylic or watercolor because it's easier to clean up and to store and all that kind of stuff. So we are ready and so excited to have new students with no art experience, and I think you would surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
So speaking about an all-adult class on a Tuesday evening, I guess, is it all ladies, or do a couple of men show up to that, or is it 50-50, or do you lean more towards the women?
I wouldn't call it 50-50.
No, it's more like a token male here and there.
Yeah, it is. Huh?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It's interesting. It's not true for our kids' classes and our teen classes, though. I would say those really get close to 50-50 for boys and girls. But for the adults, we find that it's the rare man who joins us.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk a moment about this amazing summer camps that you guys do for kids and the weekly field trips that I looked at all of them. They blow me away. You guys do a great job with this.
Thank you.
And I think they're all sold out, are they?
They are.
Yeah, you're done, man.
Yeah,
That's
they
cool.
are.
So, how many kids in a class that you would take on a field trip? Do you know what I mean?
Right now, we do 13 kids.
You do
a week.
13 kids that would go on a particular field, and the field trips are on Tuesdays,
They
right?
change
Yes.
every week based on the theme.
Yeah. Okay. So how do they get there? Do their parents take them, or what? Or do you put them in the Art Attack van, or how does that work?
We always joke about getting a bus, but no, it's just Nancy and I drive, and then sometimes we'll
Really?
need. We both have very large cars, so we can fit 13 kids.
Do parents come
on
along?
us. If they want to, they're
If they
always
want to.
welcome.
Yeah. Okay. And the kids pack a lunch.
Of course.
Okay. So either one of you, I could read my notes here and tell everybody where the locations are, but I'd rather have you guys tell.
Sure.
These are great locations.
Yeah, we have so much fun. I know you mentioned that our field trips, we paint on location, and that is true for some of our weeks, but not for all of our weeks.
Okay.
So for our non-painting field trips, I would say our most popular ones, honestly, were probably Pet Week and Sweet Week.
Pet Week would be at the Humane Society.
Yes.
Yeah. And Sweet Week is I think it's all the shops in Burlingame, right? The
Yes,
sweet
you've done
store?
your research.
Yeah.
Yes, we go up and down Burlingame Avenue,
Isn't that
and we go to the
crazy?
Cakery and Copenhagen
Yeah.
and Busy Lizzie's and Royal Donuts, and
There's plenty of them.
yes, we go, and the kids just.
And what's
lose
that
it.
experience for? Just to have some fun, not to really worry about painting or anything like
We want
that?
to get inspiration for the large paintings that we complete the rest of the week in our craft projects.
Yeah.
And we also want to get experience sketching like out in the wild.
Yeah.
So they bring their books with them, and we set our timers, and they find the desserts in the window, or the kittens that are waiting to be adopted, and they do rough sketches in their books.
That's terrific.
It's really fun.
Name the rest of the places, the locations.
Well, our other field trips are
For
plein
this
air.
year?
Well, yes. Our plein air field trips, I think it's probably one of the things we're most proud of at Art Attack is offering that opportunity to have your 7-year-old all the way up to, your 17-year-old come pack up all their art supplies, paint on location. It's just truly spectacular. And we've gone to Pigeon Point Lighthouse to do that. And
Half Moon Bay, right? Mm-hmm.
I know it's a bit of a hike, but
Yeah.
it is great. And we've
taken
to
the ferry over to Angel Island.
Yes.
Painted over there.
I think I
really
saw
fun.
Polgus Water Temple
Yes,
this
yes,
year.
exactly,
You're
yes.
going to go to Berkeley Children's Park or something like that in Berkeley.
We've also done them at the, not the Botanical Gardens, but the Conservatory of Flowers
Yeah.
in San
Up in the
Francisco.
city in Golden Gate Park.
We've gone to the Palace of Fine Arts. We've
Yeah.
gone to, what's that field in Golden?
Chrissy Field.
Chrissy Field.
Chrissy Field. I saw- did I-
Yes. Although it's always really hit or miss. We're going to Chrissy Field, and we're going to paint the Golden Gate Bridge. And then we show up, and you cannot see a single
Right, 'cause
piece
it's all
of the
fogged
bridge. 'cause
over or
it's
something.
So foggy.
Yes.
Yes, so it's really comical.
It's funny because some of the kids will have like the foundation and then just gray
Yeah.
across the top.
I
and
love
then
it.
it starts to come out and they're like, should I put it in? Should I put it in?
It's what they see,
really
isn't it
sweet.
great?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that the feel they get? And then I saw a place, Castle Rock
Yes.
State Park in Las
Yes.
Gatas.
Love that one.
Yes.
I'd never even heard of that
Yes,
place.
it's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing this, you should definitely go check it out.
Absolutely.
It's just it's a drive to get there. It's probably an hour from here.
Yeah, that's okay.
But along Highway 35, which is one of my favorite highways, it's so stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they have a parking lot, so that's easy peasy. And then it's probably a 10-minute walk, very easy incline. You could take your kids, pack a lunch, and then the rock formations there are astounding. They're larger than buildings, and then they've got these caves worn into them from the wind and the rain, and they're all covered in lichen, and you can like scramble around in and on the rocks, and it is a very enchanting location. So it's perfect for our mythical creatures
Yeah,
field trip.
super stuff. So
It always amazes me. I'll take a video while we're there, and you'll have 13 kids in complete silence on these rocks. They've like perched themselves all over the place. They have their sketchbooks on their lap, and we tell them, wait, 20 minutes of silence. You're going to sketch the surroundings and imagine mythical creatures. Who are they? What are they? Where are they living? And you could hear a pin drop there.
Truly, yeah.
With like 13
That-
boys and girls.
that is
ages
amazing.
like
That's crazy.
7 to 12,
Yeah.
and it's just silent. So
do you see
cool.
some talented kids?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is almost disheartening how talented some of the kids are. Oh yes, no, it's wonderful. No, I'm just joking about the disheartening bit, but they really are fantastic. But it's not uncommon for us to pull paintings by our kids to show the adults, because kids are much more likely to be fearless with their art and to just paint with abandon. And it's something that we lose as we age, and we become afraid and we feel like it must be perfect or nothing.
Right.
And that's very confining. And so we try and unlearn that for our teens and adults, and to find that looseness again, because Nancy and I will go to art museums and, look at these incredible paintings, and from a distance they look pristine, and then you get up close to them and they're a mess. And
Really?
Yes, oh sure, like the Impressionist movement, right? Like the brush strokes are wild, and Nancy always will say, look at the way they did this eye here. Look at how blurred it is. Look at the way it sweeps across here. Would I have allowed myself to leave the brushstroke that way, or would I have felt the impulse to fix it and to tighten it and to make it crisp or whatever? Like, would I have allowed myself to leave it? And it's my favorite brushstroke in the entire painting. Like, look at this; it's a masterpiece. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And would I have had the gall to do it myself and then to leave it there?
That's the thing I have to keep reminding myself when I am painting too. It's like, stop. And Audrey always tells me, stop, you're done.
Yeah.
Because we want to tighten things up more and more and more, and then sometimes you take the joy out of it, the freshness out of it if you beat it to death.
Do you have some things currently at the, and I hope I don't blow this because Carl's a member of the Historical Society with me, at the studio shop?
I don't think I have any paintings there right now, but I have definitely had paintings there over the years.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't think they have any of my work right now.
Okay. Who selects these great locations? Do you guys get together at nighttime or something, or on the phone or what, and say, hey, I got an idea? And then when you do select it, do you have to let the location know that you're bringing kids in, or you can just show up?
It depends on the location. Castle Rock, we don't have to do anything. It's just
Right.
It's a public park. But we try and give a heads up to the local bakeries on Burlingame Avenue. We'll call them and let them know we're going to be stopping in. But we always encourage the kids, we don't have to encourage them. They're chomping at the bit to buy things at the sweet shops. So we do try and be good patrons. And we always talk about being respectful, being aware that we're not the only people here, being aware of our surroundings, being polite, saying thank you.
Yeah.
Don't touch the glass on the
touch the
bakery
glass,
display.
yes.
Right.
Of course.
So do you change it up every year? Or do you kind of revisit some of your favorites? Like, sounds like the sweet one is probably a regular.
Exactly. So we usually have 2 pet weeks or animal themed weeks and 2 sweet weeks.
Yeah.
And then that leaves 5 weeks to play with. And we've tried before eliminating 1 or 2 of the sweeter animal weeks, and then honestly, it causes an uproar. The wait list will be like 25 people long. So we know that we have some kids who come back every summer just to do that same theme because they're so taken with it.
That's terrific.
Right. So that we want to offer new ones too, because there are kids who come back every year. They do everything. They want to try something new. So it is a combination.
So are the kids elementary, middle school, and high school on these field trips?
Yes, we have counselors who are volunteers who are high school age, and even occasionally college age kids who've been students of ours who want to keep working and help out with the kids. A lot of them want to be teachers.
But we have high school students who also come as students.
Yes.
Not as often, but it does happen. So the way we've built our program is we've got our base camper level, and then once you're in 7th or 8th grade, you're a junior counselor, and then 9th grade and above, you're an assistant counselor. And we really did that intentionally, changing that title from camper to counselor, because we want to encourage those students to keep coming back, and we don't want them to feel babied or out of place, and we want to empower them and make them a part of our team and treat them as equals, but they can still participate in all of the projects and crafts because we know that they still have the joy to do that.
On the website, I saw, and I mentioned it in the intro, I think, that you guys do parties. What does that mean?
Am I talking too much?
No, you're not. You're doing great.
Yes, so we have private parties, and they are 3 hours long, and they're great for any kind of celebration. I feel like most commonly it's birthdays, but it can be for anything at all.
And could it be children as well as adults, or is
Yes,
it?
sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's anything. It doesn't matter.
It's as long as they're 7 and up. We've made exceptions for younger students in the past, and we'll switch to watercolors and pastels. But 7th grade, 7 years old and older, we do oil painting, and it is a lead along experience. So they'll choose one reference photo that everyone will do from a selection that we supply. And then the lead instructor will do everything step by step in front of the students, and the students follow along in real time. How to do the drawing, how to mix the colors. We give them a limited palette so that it's not as overwhelming.
Right.
And at the end of the 3 hours, every student has an original oil painting to take home with them.
That's pretty cool.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And we've done it for, the whole group is kids because it's a 8-year-old's birthday. And we've done it where, it's a tradition and all the family comes together. So grandma and grandpa and all the aunts and uncles and the cousins, and it's multi-generational. And they just do it as a way to bond every year with their family.
Yeah, boy. When I visited the shop with Nancy one Sunday, I can't believe the amount of supplies you have in there. It's incredible.
You got to be ready.
Do people that don't take classes from you just come in and buy supplies? I mean, or do you have to be a student there to buy a supply? Or
You don't
what?
have to be a student. If you are, you get a 20% discount.
Yeah,
So
good. Yeah.
it is nice.
Yeah.
But no, we have people coming in off the street sometimes to get something. But I would say most of the purchases would be made by students.
Right. Okay. Great information. So far, so good, ladies. Nancy, we're going to go to Spain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You recently came back from Spain, right?
I did.
You took painting classes over there?
Yeah, well, I brought all my supplies with me, and it was signed up for a program that is for painting overseas, and it was a week-long program. This one was all women.
Yeah.
And we had a blast. It was so much fun.
Did you teach there too, or did you just take classes?
I did not.
Yeah.
Ellen Howard, who's one of our instructors, was the teacher for this program.
Uh-huh.
And she did a fabulous job. And I got to put my student hat on and not be responsible.
Yeah.
But just got to have the fun of painting in the beauty of Spain.
So you're outside.
Yes.
What do they call that when you're outside? And they're
Plein air. We were painting in plein air.
Plein air.
Plein air. It's
Okay.
a French term.
And
it's open air.
so there's, how many ladies went? 10, 12, something like that?
I'm not even sure. I think maybe around 15,
Wow.
14, 15.
So you guys all have your, not tabletop easels, stand-up easels, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
some people hadn't painted before and were new to the experience.
Yeah.
There's different levels of artist and experience there.
Uh-huh.
So,
So while you're painting, do you ever stop and go over and see what the next lady's doing, and she'll
Sure.
come over and see what you're doing?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. yeah.
Because it's a vacation and you're in
Yeah.
Spain, do you have adult beverages? Are you sharing any wine out there?
Not while we were painting in the day, but later that night.
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
We
so-
go out to the little tapas restaurants
Yeah.
and have a big table, and our people would divide up sometime and go to different local spots.
Yeah.
So that's
Did you know
beautiful.
most of the ladies on the trip?
I knew a few of them. A few of them were Art Attack students. Our mayor,
Yeah.
Donna Colson,
Yes, Donna,
was
right.
there. And Mary Hawkridge is another local person.
Oh, yes, uh-huh.
Yes, Ann Murphy was there, one of our students. And the other ones I was getting to meet, so that was fun. But Ellen knew them from workshops she's done before up in
Yeah.
Mendocino. She knew most of the people.
Great. How many of these have you been on that have been like this?
That's the first one I've done with Ellen, but I've done a lot of continuing education myself with different artists. One of my favorites is Kevin McPherson. He's a founder of the American Impressionist Society, I believe, and he's located in Taos, Mexico.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, so anyway, I've done workshops with him in Sedona. I did one with him down in Puerto Vallarta.
Jeez.
Actually been down to Guatemala.
Yeah.
So I've been to, lucky enough to been to many beautiful places to paint over the years.
Audrey, how about you? Have you been on any of these trips?
I have not.
Well,
Yet.
Yet.
I know, yeah.
Just
I'm running the
say yet.
shop at home while
Yeah.
She's
While she
allowing
goes
me
to
to
play.
go,
Mom's
actually.
out having a blast. right?
Exactly.
But you're going to do one someday, right?
Yes, and honestly, we talk about hosting one from Art Attack and going abroad somewhere because Nancy and I have traveled together all over the world and really love it. And we work so well together at the studio. It just seems like a no-brainer for us to combine the two. But
That's
time
great.
will tell.
Yeah, okay. This is kind of a generic question, and I'm not even sure why I'm asking it, but it's, what's in the future for Art Attack? Any more growth, or are you at max now, or?
That's an interesting question. There's always, talk about, I'm always was looking at a different location or a different place, but I feel like we're in a kind of a sweet spot right now.
Yeah.
we have always, life balance has been very important to us. Women being a woman who's married or was married and had children and a family, it was like, and art was, teaching the classes to begin with was a way to help support our family. And now it's still a way it has become still that, like, it's a way to support myself and for Audrey to help support her family. And yet we want to be able to, like, we'll have a high chair in the corner sometimes, or we have the plaque
Yes,
play
my
there
son
sometimes.
Nolan has been there. He's 1.5, and
That great.
he'll join us sometimes.
He'll come in for like an hour or so, one day a week. Wander around, get to know the students that day. So it's a very family-oriented environment, which we adore. And then my daughter Angie, who founded it with me, at least once a week she's popping in with, when she's in between drop-offs or pickups or with her sons. It's just, that's part of our environment, is to have the family there. And we absolutely adore that and love that.
It's amazing when you love your work, isn't it? You don't mind going to work when you love your work.
That's wonderful.
That's true.
And we all have bad days or whatever, but it's, when you have that passion, it makes a big difference.
It's true.
It does.
I feel like we try and stay open-minded about things the future will hold. And usually, I think with Art Attack, things evolve pretty organically. So opportunities will arise, or something happens that, we feel like we need to pivot, or I don't know, but it's very fluid. You know, I don't think we're really sitting down and making a 10-year plan. But, Nancy's always been very open-minded and very optimistic and very confident in in its own humble way that everything's going to be okay. And it just makes, it's a recipe for success in our experience. We try and be good listeners to our students and hear what people are interested in, and to our teachers as well. If they come to us with an idea of something that they want to do, we want to help that flourish. So, they'll host workshops with us, or even next week, we're doing a whole new theme for summer camp, Teen Week, and it's only open to students 7th grade and above. And one of our very long-term teachers, Rachel, who has been teaching teen classes for many years, she came to us and said, what if we did a summer camp and it was just teens, and they had to paint self-portraits, and we made leather-bound journals, and we talked about art journaling and self-expression, and she just had a fire lit in her, and we ran with it. And that week is going to happen for the very first time on Monday.
I think I saw that about the journaling. And you're going to make the leather.
They'll do the bookbinding themselves.
Yeah, the bookbinding.
Yeah.
In fact, aren't you visiting a bookbinding place? Something like that?
Yes, that was our original idea. We ended up pivoting, and we're going to the De Young to see their Hall of Portraits, and then also do travel journaling in Golden Gate Park. So it'll be really wonderful day.
Terrific. Nancy, where did the name Art Attack come from? Did it start in the garage, or did it come later on?
No, that came when I was thinking about opening up the outside space, and I originally had called it Nancy Torres Art Studio, which was a little cumbersome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to gear it away from myself, make it more neutral for to encompass all the teachers. And I literally woke up in the middle of the night and just thought, Art Attack, leaned
came
over
to you in a dream.
Wrote it down on a piece of paper.
Isn't that great?
That was it. And then I went back to bed.
Yeah.
And then I sketched it out on a little piece of paper. And the very first time I sketched it out, I did it right away with the up and down.
The EKG machine?
Yeah, EKG machine, up and down. And then my oldest daughter, Allie, is the one, she had a friend who was working in a sign shop. Unbeknownst to me, she took that original piece to them and had a vector made up to it and printed it up into a big giant plastic thing that went out in front of the studio and had it mounted when we had rented the space. I hadn't even in my mind committed to the name yet.
Right. But
I drove around the corner and there it was.
That's a great story. Boy. All right, this is the part of the show where I let you guys give a little shout out to your website. How does somebody find your website? Where do they go for that?
Artattack911.com.
Artattack911.com. What about, do you guys do Instagram and Facebook?
We make it easy. It's all Art Attack 911.
That is easy.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. How about a little shout out to friends and family? Nancy, I'll start with you.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, well, I want to thank a good friend, John Rogers, J.P. Rogers, who helped us many times over the years kind of get started with our studio when we needed construction projects or anything like that. He helped me build shelves and fences and all sorts of stuff. Anything that had to
Very
be
talented
made,
man.
John would help me make. And he was a student, an adult student, who found me on the Yellow Pages.
Isn't that
Oh,
great?
yes.
Yeah.
Bygone era.
Yes, he was he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's extremely generous with his time.
Yes, he's so cool.
Anybody else?
You have your list.
I know I had a whole long list, and now I'm blanking.
You know what? I'll come to you, Audrey, while
Oh,
Mom looks for the list, okay?
She's the one with the list.
Yeah.
Of people to thank?
Yeah.
Well, I know we definitely want to thank our teachers. We've talked a lot about them today, but we have had such a spectacular group. She already mentioned Susie Ferris, but there was also Jason Likas was with us for many years.
Yes,
And he
started his own shop, too,
Yes.
up in Washington.
That great?
Squawk
Yeah.
Studios, is
Yeah.
that right?
I think it's like Squawk Art.
Yes,
something
because he
like
loves
that.
chickens.
Yes. Pam Lampkin, who is a local...
Oh, Pam, from
Yes.
BCE, Burlingame
Yes.
Community Education.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She's
Wonderful.
been one of our art students for a very long time. She actually taught for us for a while, and then just went back to being an art student.
I'm glad
again.
she's still in the area.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yeah, she's fabulous, along with Donna, Joanne Goldstein, Amy Fern, Sheila Gordon, Jody Campion, Penny Benjamin, Anita Hingarami, so many people who've been part of our community.
Diane Elkon?
Is a current teacher, Diane Elkin.
Diane Elkin, yes.
Yes. That's great.
Yes. She's one of our regular teachers right now. So anyway, it's super fun.
Great.
We're very grateful.
Well, I was hoping that this worked out for us because my wife's best friend, one of her best friends, lives in Ohio, just moved to Ohio to be with her daughter and her grandchildren. And when I told her I was interviewing you guys, she said she wants to do something in Ohio very similar to this. Okay, she's got time, and the daughter has a fairly large home, but she wants to use you guys as a model. And I think we got enough information here to start because she loves art and she wants to be able to do something
Well,
within the
that's great.
neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Now, whether I don't know if it's ever going to be, you guys are a true success story. I mean, you should
Well,
be
that's
very,
good. Tell her that
very
keep
proud
the
of
next
yourselves.
30 years open.
Yeah. But you should be very proud of yourselves. This is a real success story. It really is. I mean,
you.
starting from a garage.
I
Come on,
know.
give me
I
a
know.
break,
And
man.
Truly, and it's so funny because I don't think of my mom as being particularly tech savvy with the internet, right?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. It's wild to me to think of how she got it from the ground up by just passing out flyers,
Yeah.
bringing them to the local schools. But she really has such a can-do attitude. Anything is possible.
And that's what it takes, right? And if you don't know much about tech, you get involved in it. You start asking questions, and you learn more and more. But what a great story, ladies! And like
Thank you.
I think I told you at the beginning, this is our 75th podcast, and I think our 12th or 13th with ladies in business, women in business, and another success story. So, Audrey and Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
You bet.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Nancy Torres, the founder of Art Attack, and her daughter and business partner, Audrey McInnis, for being my guest today on Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. My deepest apologies for forgetting to have them explain how Art Attack survived the pandemic. Off mic, they told me an amazing creative strategy that they came up with to survive the 2 brutal years of the pandemic, another part of their success story. Thanks to Kathy and Shelby Lucchese for editing and producing, the great Ray Tyler for video, original music by Bray. You can hear more of Bray at braymusic.com. This podcast was recorded on Thursday, July 18th, 2024 at the Burlingame Public Library, and no part can be copied or replayed without the written consent of the Burlingame Historical Society. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.